The air around the police dockyard was thick with the smell of salt water and the distant rumble of an approaching storm. It was a typical Saturday night in Brooklyn, with the moon barely peeking through a shroud of clouds, casting shadows that seemed to stretch forever. The police dockyard, where confiscated vehicles and impounded boats sat in waiting, was eerily quiet, save for the occasional hiss of a car's engine cooling down or the clink of metal in the distance. But for one man, there was nothing typical about this night. Tom Hawk Dunn had just finished a grueling week-long undercover operation. His body felt like it had been through a meat grinder, but his mind was sharper than ever. A former Army Ranger turned private contractor, Hawk had seen combat in places most people would only read about in the papers. His latest assignment, gathering intel on a dangerous biker gang with ties to the city's underworld, had put him in the midst of a brewing storm, one that was about to reach a violent crescendo. As Hawk walked through the darkened dockyard, he checked his gear: a tactical vest, a suppressed pistol, and a compact knife tucked beneath his shirt. He had no intention of using any of it tonight. He was here for one reason only: to meet with a contact who could help him bring down the gang once and for all. But Hawk's reputation, earned over years of service in the field, carried its own weight, and that weight was about to crash down on him in the form of a motorcycle gang known as the Black Talons. Chapter 1. The wrong men. The gang had been moving into Brooklyn for months, their grip tightening around the local underground economy. Their reach stretched from extortion to drug smuggling, and they had even started infiltrating the local police department. Hawk had spent days collecting evidence, interviewing informants, and piecing together a picture of the Black Talons' operations. But now he was about to face them head-on. As he approached the rendezvous point near Dockyard 42, a place where the shadows grew darker, with every step he noticed something off. A few motorcycles revved in the distance, their engines cutting through the night air with an unsettling aggression. Hawk froze, instincts kicking in. Something wasn't right. His contact hadn't shown up yet, but it wasn't uncommon for plans to go awry in this business. Then, without warning, the rumble of motorcycles grew louder. 3 bikes sped toward the dockyard, their headlights cutting through the gloom like predators closing in on their prey. Hawk stepped back into the shadows, his hand resting on the grip of his pistol. The bikes screeched to a halt, and a group of rough-looking men dismounted, all wearing the signature black leather vests emblazoned with a snarling black talon on the back. "You know the rules, Hawk," one of them said with a mocking grin, stepping forward. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and had a scar running down his left cheek. His name was Shane, the leader of the Black Talons, and Hawk knew him by reputation alone. The man was ruthless, a former military vet gone rogue, and now a major player in the city's criminal network. Hawk stood his ground, his eyes narrowing as he studied the group. There were 6 of them, all seasoned fighters with a clear agenda. Whatever it was, they had come looking for trouble. But Hawk wasn't intimidated. Not by them. Not by anyone. "I'm not here for you, Shane," Hawk said coolly, keeping his tone even. "I'm waiting for someone." Shane laughed, a low, menacing sound that echoed through the empty dockyard. "I think you're forgetting something, soldier. You're on our turf now, and there's no one to save you when you mess with the wrong people." Hawk's fingers twitched at the mention of the word soldier. He wasn't a soldier anymore, but old habits died hard, and he had the training to make anyone who underestimated him regret it. As Shane took a step closer, Hawk's mind worked quickly. The bikers weren't here to negotiate. They were here to intimidate. Maybe even worse. He needed to defuse the situation, but he was no stranger to violence, especially when it came to men like these. Without warning, Shane lunged at him, but Hawk was faster. With a swift movement, he grabbed the man's arm, twisted it behind his back, and shoved him into a nearby shipping container. The sound of bones cracking echoed in the air. The other bikers hesitated for a split second, clearly taken aback by the force of the move. That hesitation was enough for Hawk to shift gears. "Stay down, Shane," Hawk growled, his eyes cold as ice. But Shane wasn't done yet. He growled in pain and pulled a knife from his belt, slashing it toward Hawk's midsection. The blade flashed through the air, but Hawk was already moving, ducking low and countering with a quick strike to Shane's throat that sent him crumpling to the ground, gasping for air. The other bikers, now enraged, charged forward, brandishing bats, chains, and knives. Hawk spun, using the environment to his advantage, ducking behind a stack of shipping crates. One of the bikers swung a bat, but Hawk sidestepped the blow and slammed the man's face into the steel side of a shipping container. The thug crumpled to the ground, unconscious before he hit the pavement. "Is this really what you want?" Hawk asked, his voice calm, though his body was moving with the precision of a seasoned fighter. Two more bikers tried to rush him at once, but Hawk was already steps ahead. He jabbed a knee into one man's gut, sending him reeling, and then used his momentum to take the second man down with a brutal shoulder throw. The remaining bikers hesitated, their faces now showing fear. Hawk had taken down their toughest fighters in less than a minute. He was fast, efficient, and relentless, a force they hadn't anticipated. Shane, still gasping for air on the ground, finally managed to speak. "You don't know what you've done," he rasped. "You mess with us, and you'll regret it." "We're everywhere." Hawk stared down at him, his expression cold. "I don't care where you are. I'm not letting you destroy the city." Suddenly, the sound of sirens filled the air. Hawk had no idea how long he had been fighting, but the police were finally on their way. The bikers looked at each other, eyes wide with realization. They had underestimated Hawk, and now they were about to pay the price. Chapter 2: The Final Stand. As the police cars screeched into the dockyard, Hawk knew his job wasn't done. He couldn't let the Black Talons slip away, not when they were this close to being wiped out for good. But he also couldn't stay to explain himself. There was no time. With a final look at the fallen bikers, Hawk disappeared into the shadows, his mind already working on his next move. This was far from over. The Black Talons weren't just a gang. They were a cancer eating away at the heart of the city, and Hawk was determined to be the one to cut them out. As he disappeared into the night, he knew one thing for sure. Tonight, the Black Talons had messed with the wrong soldier. Epilogue: The reckoning begins. A week later, the news came in. The Black Talons had been broken. Their leaders were arrested, their operations dismantled, and their grip on the city shattered. There were whispers on the street. Rumors of a mysterious figure who had taken down the gang. Some said it was a cop, others said it was a vigilante. But those who knew Hawk's name and his past understood the truth. The soldier who had once fought for his country was now fighting for his city. And this time, no one was going to stand in his way.